When the lights go down, the truth comes out.
Tucker, you're not the father. This has to be wrong!
After Hours with Alex Stein. No filter.
If it was okay to have anal sex.
No apologies.
You were talking about things that probably you shouldn't talk about.
The undisputed king of trolling.
I finally have my own show!
At one point, your ancestors owned slaves.
They tried to cancel us.
Deplatforming works.
She wants to kill babies, but she's still beautiful. Look at that booty on AOC. That's my favorite big booty Latina.
Politics, culture, hypocrisy.
They want them to have their penises cut off.
Uncensored and uncontrolled.
Cut your penis off, Max.
That's what I'm saying. They admit they want to cut people's penises off.
Late night just got dangerous. After Hours with your host, Alex Stein, starts right now.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to After Hours with Alex Stein, right here on Real America's Voice. Now, tonight we got to talk about a subject that is very near and dear to my heart. That is the horrible tragedy of September 11th, 2001, where America was faced with the worst terrorist attack to ever happen in United States history. Now, the reason that I'm going to talk about 9/11 tonight is because I'm starting to see a lot of similarities to what is currently happening with this war in Iran. Now, I know some people are going to get mad, and why are you connecting the two? But I just want to give the official story about 9/11, and then I want to talk about some of the weird coincidences when it comes to the official story. And then I want to play some clips about the Iran war so I can show you how I think that they both connect. Now, I want to start off with actually type something up tonight. And so I'll be reading this to you. So I apologize if it isn't, as improv. But, the Pimp on a Blimp, we did some pre-production tonight because I want to make sure that this show really comes across as thought-provoking, because really and truly I'm going to say some conspiracies tonight. And to be honest, my goal is not to convince you of any of these conspiracies that I tell you about. My goal is only to encourage you to ask questions when it pertains to the official story of 9/11 and when it pertains to the official story of the war in Iran. So let me just dive in. Consider this: the way many are questioning the rapid justifications, shifting objectives of the Iran war, and the miraculous early successes in the strikes on Iran, these echo the same skepticism that was once aimed at the official story surrounding 9/11. Both involve narratives of overwhelming threats neutralized incredibly fast, with inconvenient details often downplayed or reframed in a way that makes anyone questioning the actions of our government out to be an anti-American traitor for just wanting some more governmental transparency, which is exactly what I thought we all voted for. Tonight, let's walk through the official account of September 11, 2001. The version, we're told, is very straightforward, and there's no need to question it. On the morning of September 11, 2001, 19 men, mostly Saudi nationals, armed with only box cutters, boarded 4 commercial airliners. They were directed by Osama bin Laden, a man on dialysis in a remote Afghan cave, who somehow orchestrated the entire operation using only a satellite phone and a laptop. These individuals overpowered trained crews and professionals on all 4 flights with no effective resistance or timely alerts getting through. Then, despite the world's most advanced air defense system, one that can scramble jets rapidly for even minor issues, had planes that flew off course for over an hour, striking the World Trade Center towers and the Pentagon with remarkable precision. The Twin Towers, built to withstand plane impacts and intense fires, collapsed at nearly free fall speed into their own footprints, something unprecedented for a steel-framed high-rise from fire alone. It's never happened. And a third building, World Trade Center Tower 7, which is 47 stories, was never hit by a plane, dropped symmetrically at free fall acceleration that afternoon, attributed simply to office fires. One hijacker's passport was found intact blocks away in the debris, while the plane's black boxes were either vanished or their data was never fully recovered. Within hours, the FBI identified all 19 hijackers and linked them definitively to Osama bin Laden. The 9/11 Commission, which was underfunded and had conflicts of interest, relied on testimony from tortured detainees, overlooked programs like Able Danger that actually flagged suspects beforehand, and ignored multiple hijacking simulations running that exact same morning. Yes, that's true. And omitted any detailed discussion of World Trade Center Tower 7 and its main findings. That's right, the 9/11 Commission report did not even mention Tower 7. Key evidence disappeared. The World Trade Center steel was shipped overseas before thorough analysis. Pentagon videos were classified or lost. They only gave us 1 or 2 frames of the entire attack. And the related financial investigation files at the Pentagon were completely destroyed. Years later, bin Laden was located and killed in a SEAL raid in Pakistan where no photos were released. The body was thrown away in the ocean and flushed down the toilet, with details constantly evolving over time. So that's the official story of 9/11, that a small group of amateurs bypassed global intelligence and defenses, caused 3 total building collapses in ways never seen before, and left just enough traceable evidence to close the case swiftly, while major questions and evidence gaps persist. Now, the reason why I had to read that is because that's the official story. That's not even a conspiracy. And in that, I mentioned, I don't know how clear I was, but that Condoleezza Rice and George Bush were both briefed on the threat of 9/11. That's right. So I actually want to play this clip. It's SOT number 11, actually. And this is Mehdi Hassan talking about how George Bush and Condoleezza Rice were both warned about the chance of a terror attack on American soil.
That we don't tend to talk about what didn't happen before 9/11, the action that wasn't taken to keep us safe, the myriad ways in which the Bush administration totally, shambolically, shamefully dropped the ball on national security, the warnings that weren't heeded, the dots that weren't connected, the threats that simply weren't taken seriously. Some of you, for example, may know about the now notorious Presidential Daily Brief, the PDB from the intelligence community, headlined, "Bin Laden determined to strike in US," that was given to Bush more than a month before September the 11th. This was amid reports of a potential looming terrorist attack, including from al-Qaeda. The PDB mentioned New York as a possible target. It mentioned the possibility of hijacked aircraft. The FBI was already conducting dozens of investigations that were considered bin Laden related. Then there's the story of George Bush getting a PDB on his Texas ranch about threats from al-Qaeda that summer. Bush replied to the CIA analyst explaining the risk, quote, "All right, you've covered your ass now."
So there's been multiple times where George Bush was briefed that a guy by the name of Osama bin Laden had a plan to fly planes into buildings in New York City. And so I'm going to get a little deeper into the conspiracies, but even the official story basically admits that they had prior knowledge of these attacks. Now, I want to play this clip. Actually, I want to play SOT 9, or excuse me, I want to play SOT 10. Now, this is 6 days after the terror attack on 9/11, which George Bush was briefed about multiple times. And I want you to listen to what he has to say, because he basically says, we want to turn this tragedy into something terrific. Let's play it.
Let me say that in terms of foreign policy, and in terms of the world, this horrible tragedy has provided us with an interesting opportunity. One of the opportunities is in the Middle East. I'm pleased with the fact that Chairman Arafat and Prime Minister Sharon have taken positive steps toward bringing peace to the region. I think we have an opportunity to refashion the thinking between Pakistan and India. I think there's some interesting opportunities to shake terrorism loose from sponsor states. And this government, working with Congress, are going to seize the moment. Out of our tears, I said, I see opportunity, and I'm going to say, we will seek opportunity, positive developments from this horrible tragedy that has befallen our nation.
And guess what that positive development was? That was trillions of dollars and millions of Muslims dead for weapons of mass destruction that did not exist. That's right. The government not only had prior knowledge of 9/11 and disregarded that threat, but then they went on a campaign to Afghanistan and Iraq and killed Saddam Hussein and tried to kill the Taliban, but ended up losing and in a very embarrassing fashion. So America did take advantage of that, but the only people that benefited was the military-industrial complex, where Dick Cheney had worked for these companies for years and had a lot of connections. So any stockholder that had Raytheon, Halliburton, or Boeing stocks came out of 9/11 with a ton of money in their bank account. But the average American that's not invested in these stocks didn't benefit whatsoever. As a matter of fact, because of it, that's why we have to go through the TSA, and I got to get my junk manhandled by some gargoyle-looking TSA male agent because I don't let the women do it. Trust me, I've tried. I'm always like, let me get one of those big booty Latinas to search me. They don't let me do that. Why? Because of 9/11. So George Bush was briefed and didn't take the threat serious enough, and then the exact plan that he's briefed about happened. So before we even dive deeper into these clips, just think about that. The official story is that he knew. So the only leap that you have to take is a very small leap, is that maybe he knew that there was people planning this attack and he let it happen. That is called a false flag attack, because he knew that he wasn't going to be able to go and destabilize the entire Middle East unless he had something that would motivate the general public to be on board. And at that time, over 80% of the population was in favor of going to the Middle East and starting these wars. Now, the current war in Iran only has a 27% approval rating. That's right. So think about how much more excited the country was for those wars. And look how those turned out. They were absolutely embarrassing. And a lot of people died for a lie. And this is what George Bush was doing while everybody was dying in the Middle East.
We must stop the terror. I call upon all nations to do everything they can to stop these terrorist killers. Thank you. Now watch this drive.
Dang, I miss George Bush. So coming up next, we're going to dive even deeper, and you're going to hear about how America actually created the Mujahideen and funded Osama bin Laden. Yep, that's right. Coming up next.